أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Events in the UK, all of them have an impact on the security protection side of things. So we'll just see like where are things right now. Look at some statistics, and then we'll go into the solution side of things. So we'll be looking at some physical security side of things. I've also included cybersecurity for centers because there's a lot of reliance on digital services, either to the congregation or for the use of the management of the centers themselves. There is a discussion about emergency planning and crisis response. So after everything has been put into place, if God forbid, like something does happen, then how can we be more prepared for that in terms of both planning and response? There is a new law coming out next year, early next year, called Martin's Law. Um, and it has been recently sort of created and passed because of the events that happened relating to security and threats for public places, and the faith institutions like mosques and Imam Bargahs, community centers also fall into that. We also have large gatherings in especially in Muharram, but in other times of the year. So managing security of something that is small inside the mosque is slightly different to something outside the mosque, or where the congregation of the crowd spills out into overflow areas, or in surrounding areas of the mosque. So look at some of that. Um, I also thought about the daytime programs that happen, especially run by our sisters, and also in settings where we have a weekend school or a madrasa happening in daytime, where necessarily the men volunteers are not present, and women are inside or busy in their program, some guidance for them, what they can do, and also these are all optional things. But if at the time, when something does happen, then we have to report it, so that something is done about that from a statistics sort of perspective, that what is happening where, and also in terms of response and protection and security that you may need from the local authorities. There is some funding and support available from the UK government as well. There are the different aspects to look into when you apply to this external funding. There's also a lot of training available, and I will share some screens to show you what training is available, so that you can invest more time. 2 hours is in a public session may not be specific and bespoke for your particular needs, but there is some dedicated training that you can go on to. Some of them is free, some of them is very economical. And then there is some discussion about this security problem is just not yours. As a member of the Shia community, we have an obligation to protect everyone around us as well, as much as possible. So how do we find like what other communities are around that, build some partnerships and share common issues that we have, and have maybe like joint plans, because if something happens in the area, then it might affect different communities, especially if you have, let's say, a church across the road that could be impacted, or another a place of worship, as a neighbor. And just finally, once we know what is the problem, what are the possible solutions, what can you do to create an implementation roadmap, and also your responsibilities if you are a trustee or if you are in the management team. What should we have in place that would discharge to a lot of extent our responsibility and our duty if God forbid like something actually happens. You should be able to show that you did everything as best as possible, and the threat was bigger, or the resources required were a lot more than the incident and the internal resource available, and hopefully that will put up a strong case if there is a requirement of you proving that you have done as much as possible to avoid the incident, but it still happened. Why am I presenting this thing? I've got a combined experience within the professional side of things and community leadership, and a bit of Islamic education as well. So the idea was to combine this and look at it from a risk perspective, and also to keep it as simple as possible, where there is specific security measures that you have to put in place. Then there may be a need to contact the local police or the local fire people, or a specialist sort of security company around that. But this would give you an awareness of what is required, and from a governance perspective, what do you need to do your duties as a trustee, and what the existing regulations are, and how can you be compliant with those regulations, and ultimately have this risk register where you know what could go wrong, based on your own understanding of the center and past experience, and maybe the local environment, and things that have happened, and some of the sources that I mentioned. You can drill down into your own area and figure out how bad the situation is and how much of security you do need to sort of implement. And if you have any specific questions or specific situations that you'd like to discuss, then by all means, like put into chat, and inshallah we can have a discussion on that. I do have a governance and compliance consultancy, and qualified in risk management, from operational risk and regulatory compliance both. And a long time ago, I was involved in a center, so have like the management experience of real life, dealing with the council and the local police and other community organizations. And at the same time, I work with a lot of centers across the UK, for different perspectives, including safety and security, and also madrasas as well, just advising them on best practices. So hopefully, bringing all this together, I'll be able to give you a comprehensive explanation of the safety and security bit, and inshallah, together we can come up with a solution which is beneficial for the local community. So the current landscape is not something ideal, I'd say, and some of the figures confirm this, where out of all the hate crime, the religious hate crime to all religious denominations in 2025, the 45% or nearly half of that were targeting Muslims, and these are not specifically Shia Muslims, but this is Muslims. In some cases, the people who get involved in hate crime or who instigate these crimes don't differentiate between Muslims and Shia Muslims. Sometimes they have a specific, thing for a specific Muslim sect. But we can see from this 45% that it's quite high chance based on the previous numbers that this year this figure would be the same or higher. Realizing the impact of the hate crime, the involvement of the local authority for protection and dealing with the hate crime, the funding that has been allocated for specifically faith communities for this year is 73.4 million pounds, which is quite a big amount of money to be allocated. And we will talk about how we can get access to some of this funding and what do we need to be aware of when applying for such a grant or funding from the government. The last set of figure is the most alarming one. We have different threat levels, and these are internal and external threat actors working. And essentially, there are five threat levels or terrorism threat levels in the UK. And right now, we are at four of that fifth five levels. So after severe, it only goes on to critical, which means that the threat can materialize basically any time. Right now, there is a high probability of that. And if you go to the government website, you will be able to see, just search for the current UK terrorism threat level, and you will see that what the threat level is and the explanation of different threat levels. But what does severe means specifically, and when do we go into critical? When it happens, when it goes into critical, certain emergency services, there are plans that are activated, and there's um, uh, more resource put in to ensure that the threats don't materialize. So, and I've mentioned these, by the way, I should have mentioned, but these slides would be available to everyone who is registered. So you don't have to make any notes of it. Obviously, if I'm explaining anything extra, then you can take that note. So what we are concluding from these numbers is there is a high chance of a hate crime or a religious threat to materialize in the UK at the moment, specifically for Muslims. So, that shows that we really need to do something about it from both a preparation and planning perspective. So we feel more confident. And also, we are able to transfer that confidence in our communities when they're coming out from their homes into the Imam Barkas and the community centers, that they are safe, and the people who are managing those places have ensured their safety as much as possible. Okay, that was to do with the numbers for Muslims in general. I have looked into why do we have to be worried about safety and security, specifically as Shia communities. And these may all be just reminders, but this is just to prove that point, that we have this dual threat profile, because Islamophobia affects us, but there's also sectarian threats, that affects us as well. So there's a bigger set of threat that everyone is facing, all Muslims are facing, and we are part of that. But internally as well, there is sectarian threat, so we have to be careful about it. Shia Muslims have very high profile gatherings. We have been asked to do a lot more things in congregation, if it's prayers or commemorations or celebrations or breaking the fast or anything that happened in history or current times. We are supposed to get together, and 'cause there is a benefit in praying in a congregation, and these activities sometimes could go on for days. They happen at different parts of the day and night as well, and these are regular, repeatable activities. So it's not a one-off type of thing. Every year, in a published calendar way, people know that on this day, Shia Muslims would be out there, so they become an easy target, and they give the attackers have enough time to plan and observe, the previous gatherings to from their perspective gain all the knowledge to have the maximum impact. Our community centers also serve as hubs where it's not just purely for the religious activities organized by the mosque themselves. There are private gatherings, there are meetings happening, there's other programs in there. Sometimes weekend schools as well. Those who don't have separate premises for these weekend schools. So it's a community hub, and the what they are encouraged, or the community is encouraged, is to do more and more activities in the center, so that you utilize a spiritual place, and if you don't have space in your homes, for example, you're able to invite more people in these. So if a community hub is there, and it's holding programs all the time, then they also become a potential target for any safety and security issues. Looking at some specific threats relating to mosques. So out of all the mosques in the UK, 42% of them have experienced some sort of a religiously motivated attack, and I'll give you some examples. 42% is quite a lot. I don't know the exact number of mosques that we have, but even if we assume that there are 2,000 mosques in the UK, then we're saying that nearly 40% of those mosques have had some sort of religiously motivated attack, and they could be a milder one. They could be something like stealing a donation box, or throwing a firebomb, or we'll discuss, like, what kind of possible attacks are there. But it could be verbally abusing someone as well around that mosque area, or sending in a threat letter in there, or something. But in some ways, there's 42% of the mosques who have been attacked in 2025. And there are verified attacks on these mosques in the summer last year, 27, and the sources are mentioned sort of below. And there is an organization called, abbreviated to Tell Mama. They collect data of anti-Muslim hate incidents, and they say that compared to 2024, they have this annual report that shows the incidents reported, and the incidents have not like doubled, but quadrupled, so 200% rise rather than 100% rise in their sort of previous numbers. So all these statistics are saying that the problem is serious. The problem is something that we have to act now, and the problem is something that we have to understand what needs to be done about, and do it in the best way possible within the resources available. How it all started, I won't go into sort of too much detail, but those of you remember July 2024, there were some stabbings, and from them the riots spread out, and a local mosque was attacked, and then some of the other mosques were attacked in the other sort of areas, and lots of arrests were made. And that summer of 2024 was quite bad in terms of worships and Muslim events being impacted, and there were other issues as well. So that's where it sort of all started, and then later on last year we had the East Sussex mosque incident, and also some other mosque. I mean, if you go into if you want to see like if your area is included, and there was a local mosque impacted in your local area, then there is a report from the British Muslim Trust, and it would have all the verified news in there explaining what happened to the mosques in what area. To give you a little idea, this is not a comprehensive, like, everything view, but what has happened is, symbols being drawn, windows being smashed, and slogans being written on mosques walls. And if you may think that this is not, this doesn't impact sort of anything um, from a mosque perspective. It's someone just writing some graffiti. But for the person who is attending the mosque, especially with families and children, this shows that there's someone who is interested in causing some chaos and problems. They have done it at a time where no one was there, but it could happen at a time when people are there too. And if nothing is done sort of about it, then the issue or the threat can escalate, and sometimes it can cost money, very hard earned donation money to to prevent these not prevent but to remediate the attacks or the impact on the mosque. So we want to avoid that as much as possible. But there are loads of other ways which are possible from for someone to attack mosque and centers. And this is what we will discuss in the later part. Um, what can we do to prevent these things? Um, the one of the or a few of the occasions in the verified reports and the incidents that were reported were setting or starting fires of different kind, arson attacks, and even a part of the building being set ablaze as well. Because yeah, mosque is not something that would have normally 24-hour sort of security available in the nighttime or in early morning time, or a time where and the areas could be sort of secluded from residential neighborhoods in a way that it's not like just in between the houses. It would have its sort of own area, almost. It would be in a residential area, but it would be not like a house between multiple houses. It's easier to do these kind of uh, activities by either throwing a petrol bomb or a fire bomb, on the mosque building, or setting a part of the building ablaze, or even setting fires in bins that are kept outside the mosque, and Also, just burning like whatever they have available in front of the mosque to show that or to create that fear in the congregation. There have been, as you saw in one of the pictures as well, crosses and other symbols on mosque property, which would create that panic that there might be only a few people creating these threats, but it creates that fear and also the incident response after that, and also this fact that the threat might escalate to a bigger area or have a bigger impact if nothing is done about that. There has been online hate as well reported and experienced to mosques and community centers where there are campaigns that were run and sometimes some misinformation being spread about those community centers as well. And hence, I think it's important that we the Facebook and Instagram and any websites that are involved have a good security and they have these official pages identified, and also the message that any information that comes from the mosque should always be taken from these official pages and not from anywhere. Because these days you could easily create misinformation by a poster and spread it around. And by the time the clarification is issued, there could be some damage done. Property damage, smashed windows, graffiti, offensive symbols as well that have been, noted in different attacks, and some physical assaults as well for worshippers who are going or coming out of the mosque, and especially like women and children, where we have a quite long walks going back to their cars. There have been some issues there, and for congregation or big procession type events, they have been anti sort of protest over there. So some people, coming face to face to the procession and for their own views, there's a possibility of that. There's also what we call like hostile vehicle mitigation plans where they are vehicles being smashed into a procession or people standing outside the mosque. We will discuss about mitigations and how we can stop these bits. Uh, but for times or events where we have mass gatherings outside the mosque, they are sort of bigger level activities, and hence it's important to know that if a mass event is being taking place, there is some risk assessment of that, and more than likely you may have not the resources to protect mass events, and hence external help, including the local police or security agencies like security guards and other people would need to be involved either from the community or from outside. Hey, so just looking at the chat, thank you, Brother Amir from Zainabia about the British Muslim Trust. And there's a comment from Brother Zia. Given the current threats, can we request the Met Police to be available to police our main programs during the first 10 days of Muharram? So I will discuss the mitigations, but just to quickly answer that question, policing and liaising with policing or coordination with policing. And I've had quite a lot of experience in different places for that. The any public service that we would like to get involved in would have their own constraints and their own objectives and plans and priorities as well. So definitely, they are there to support us, to protect us, but we will need to do some work to get the right resource on the right time from these people. So they like to be dealt in a particular way, and there's lots of process sort of involved in it. So yes, the answer is yes. You can get support from them. Initially, you will not get a straightforward response saying that yes, we are available whenever you need us, especially if you leave it sort of too late. But if you give enough time and you go to them in the first place with the risks side of things, so you say like, this is possible, this is possible, this is possible, and based on your training as well, that there are potential risks, and there are some things that because of the current environment is very likely, this could happen. So if you go to them, at least I would say 8 to 12 weeks in advance, share the risks with them, and also say that you don't have the resources and you're dependent on them. Then they any case that is received by the Met Police, they have to respond to it in a proper way. So initially they may say that they will provide some support, and most of the support you have to hire or pay for yourselves. And then you go back to them saying that these are the duties, and the security companies will be there, but it needs to be, to be managed, or the ultimate security uh, partner that we need is the Met Police. And if you have existed in that local area for a long time, they'll know, the people that come in, the people who attend, and if there are any kind of problems in the local area as well. So, so if you make the case well in advance and approve the case, because they get a lot of requests for these, you have to get that thing assigned to you, and creating some partnerships with the local councillors, other faith bodies, who are influential, with the neighborhood policing team in advance during the rest of the year would all help with getting the right resources for Muharram, inshallah. There's another question from Brother Alamdar. Alaikum salam. We have recently renewed our building insurance, after which we were advised by a broker the alcoholism is not covered. Okay, I'll cover insurance specifically in a later slide, and what we can do about that. So just hold on to that, inshallah. I'll come. Sorry, should read as we were advised. Yes, terrorism has been separated ironically. We are as intended away now, which means it's not sufficient time. Does it mean that we look at privacy? Yeah. So I'd say still make that request, and so they will provide some sort of presence. And if it's less time available, then once you have made the first request, do the second request, maybe the one day after. And it is all the neighborhood policing teams have contacts published on their websites. So maybe call the local police people, or if you find them sort of walking in the streets, talk to them. But it's because it's less time available, it will require a little bit more effort, and they have to provide some sort of security. How much can you get out of them would depend on how much we insist and push for it. Okay. Thank you. I'll come to questions in a bit then. So what can we do to we've discussed what could go wrong, what has happened so far, how likely the threat is. What now it's about solutions. What can we do about it? So like with any other planning that you do, there is emergency planning and crisis response. You have these four steps. One of them is to be prepared. So anything that in advance you can know this can go wrong. We will do this. These are the people. This is how we'll communicate, and I'll go into details on all of them. If you have to communicate with the public, members of the public, do everything theoretically, as they say. And then, if possible, I know it sounds not practical, but if possible, and with as many people as possible, try and practice that thing. So if you have to be inside the building and there's something happen outside, then how can the building be locked, for example, or if something has happened, then how would we get the first aid and other bits tested, that how soon they respond. If there is a fire, then how quickly can we respond to fire emergencies, and for different scenarios have different plans, and however much you can test, try that. And I think this needs to be communicated, and the community needs to be educated slowly and gradually. If during a majlis you ask everyone to stand up and go outside, that might not be taken very well. But if this becomes part of the standard announcements, that we are preparing for the safety and security because of outside threats, and there may be a drill at some point, and maybe for a smaller event we try and see what the impact of that is, and then slowly and gradually, when people are accustomed to these things happening, I'm sure they're all part of these drills in their workplaces, in their schools, in their universities, and there should be some bit of safety inside like homes as well. So they are aware of this, but we're just not used to that in the mosque. Slowly and gradually, we can work with them and create that mindset of security planning. And then we have a incident response plan ready. If something has happened, then based on your preparation and drills, you will respond to that. That may require part of the mosque, not being available. So if you want to know how will alternative programs be run, or whether things will be seized in that particular time, and also like scenarios for the insurance thing was mentioned. You can once you have created the risk register, before activating a claim, you can ask the insurance company that if this happens, what will I be? So create a mock scenario and say, if this is the case, how would I be covered? Because with insurances, if you just buy a policy and just leave it there until something happens, uh, there's a big chance that when you really need that policy, some bits won't would not apply. So any possible issues that could happen, create a scenario. We call them like desktop exercises, and discuss with your insurance. If this happens, will we be covered or not? And if they say no, you're not covered for this, then either look for different insurances or adding more cover into there, or if you have very little cover for something, or maybe the accesses are like really high. So, in that respond part, you could do the drill and respond. You could test your plan, how well you are able to deal with that incident. And once the incident is over, it takes some time to get back to normal activities. So there is there should be some thought around what are essential services that will be resumed, if members of the community were impacted, how are we going to provide with them support to them? If there is some process to be completed with the local authorities, what would that be? And um, that if you have learned, let's say, like not a good lessons with insurance providers, then how do we make changes in our own internal cover and processes and trainings to prevent something in the future? But that's after the event. I've kept this sort of separately in here because it's quite an important part of incident investigation. If again, God forbid, the trustees were found not to be exercising their duty of care, someone needs to keep a record of what happened when. And this could be, video evidence, or it could be written evidence, or something that this happened, this is what we did, very briefly, in that time, and that would help with the investigation going forward. And also, whenever any of these incidents happen, the news people are very interested, and especially people who are not um, not really happy or not concerned, or they have their own sort of things to worry about. They want to find out like what happened, why did it happen, to gain some of the benefit themselves. So it's critical that we have a media person or a communications lead appointed, and this person is good at talking. He's able to connect internally and get everyone's approval. And very short and specific statements are issued, and it could be even read out from a piece of paper. Or, but it's important that we do say something. If there's no comment, following an incident, that would mean there is something not right. So a statement should, and some organizations plan that in advance too. So if this risk materializes, this will be the statement we will do. And obviously they don't know exactly what would have happened, but the template is ready, and they change a few things. Concerning if it's something happened inside the school, or something happened inside the mosque, or in a women's area, or what in a different kind of incidents that have happened in the past, or are likely to happen. But planning, testing, and being able to deal with that incident, and once the incident is over, going back to normal as much as possible. If we can plan that, that would help going forward. Okay, some of these would be common knowledge in terms of the security controls, maybe already in place. If they're not, then I would class them as essentials. We do spend a lot of money on different aspects of mosque management and running the programs, but these are also essentials and required. So CCTV systems. When we install CCTV, it's not just about having a, let's say, a couple of cameras, because I've seen that, and saying that yes, we have CCTV. That is almost like having no CCTV. So step one is to have a survey done to find out what areas need these CCTV coverages, and because of what reason. Also, when you will receive the recordings from that CCTV, what could that recording be used for? And is it a valid recording? Is it a clear recording? How long is that recording sort of kept for? And also, if people have been informed in places, that they are being recorded. So it's a mini sort of project to understand when and how and what needs to be done with CCTV systems. These days, people want remote access capabilities too, which are good, and that additional feature would help with using the CCTV systems when they are needed. Access control. We may have like some areas in the mosque which are not for public entry. And this could be even a cupboard where some spare supplies are kept, or it could be the kitchen area where where things are kept from a food and hygiene sort of perspective. It could be the office area. It could be another sort of store area. So having these access, and these days they're not expensive to get. You can have some simple systems or centrally managed systems, but the places where which are sensitive, there is some sort of access control. Otherwise, there is a possibility, of someone wandering in that area and causing some threat from an inside perspective rather than outside the mosque. Uh, Good lighting always helps, especially around the mosque. If we have this motion activated lighting, again, they're not very expensive and they're very good in terms of power saving features. You can have them around the mosques, and they would be not on all the time. But when the sensor is impacted with someone coming as close enough, then the light will turn on, and obviously that would be a deterrent to anyone coming very close to the mosque. It obviously helps with the CCTV side of things as well, to get like more clearer pictures. Again, what we don't want is CCTV capturing images, and we know that it's not possible to identify faces from those CCTV systems. So then we're just reporting to figure out something happened at this time, but the police or whoever's investigating would say, these are not usable video evidence. And finally, the entry points need to have good doors installed. There are special, fire doors, yes, but secure doors as well. And this is for when the mosque is not in use. Then they don't become easy target for door entry in there. Lots of again different types of secure entries systems available, and where is temporary access required, they can have maybe like video doorbells as well, not for public events, obviously, but if it's a specific event and there is not possible to have door supervisors available, then video doorbells can help in there. There are lots of logistics to consider, but all these logistics will be weighed against the probability and the likelihood of that particular risk. If if it's a high likelihood, then that little investment could help. Any entrances that are not in use, they are kept locked, and by locking, we mean like proper locking, rather than something that can be opened, quite easily. That require a reinforced door. So a good door, a good frame of that door would help with securing the secondary entrances. In terms of perimeter security, we have quite a few sort of areas. Fencing and gates are really good where we don't have the entrance of the mosque as the first barrier to go inside the mosque. There is some sort of barrier or fence, or maybe a secondary gate or something that is before the entry point, and that helps with that second line of defense basically. Otherwise, if someone has to smash into the entry area, they would just go straight in rather than having to pass through a barrier and then into into the mosque. So what is advised is to have some sort of fencing or gate like outside the entry points, or these anti-ram bollards in there, but something that would prevent or have a additional uh, problem before they get into the mosque itself. The security filming and glazing of ground windows, which can be reached by humans, not by climbing but like directly sort of accessible. There are ways to protect them. And again, this could be like a one-off type of investment, but that helps with any threat that could possibly come to the window itself or through the window inside the mosque. When the mosques are not in use, it is advised to have these alarms in place, and there are again different ways to manage these alarms remotely as well. But these would be for times when the mosque is not occupied by anyone, and it also helps with giving access to that first person inside the mosque, that they are the authorized person who can open the mosque and be inside them. Mailboxes have also become a security threat. Sometimes there are these letterboxes on mosque doors, which could help a threat actor, transfer some threat through the mailboxes. And they are, if that is the case, then there are even blast-resistant mailboxes available, or you can easily put the mailbox slightly away from the mosque or on a wall somewhere, or something like more protected. My suggestion would be, if there is some affordability, to have some sort of a redirection set up, and because or something like away from the mosque, and obviously a secure way, because letterboxes can become a high likelihood of threat inside mosques. We talked about hostile vehicle mitigation. This is where vehicles can be smashed into the processions or the mosque themselves. For that, there have been advice of bollards, some even plantation or barriers or fences around from for a temporary event, or if it's for mosque perimeter security or mosque entry security, then some sort of permanent bit in place where pedestrians are always on the other side of the barriers or the bollards to minimize the impact. If we do have external storage close to the mosques, then they either they kept in a place where there is some access control, like a gate or something, or they are locked and covered. So it's not easy to just put anything inside, because a fire, almost like a permanent fire, can be started from a bin, and by the time it will light up, it would cause quite a lot of damage. So they have to be kept as much away as possible, and protected from being used as a fire threat. From a resource perspective, From a resource perspective, as you can see, there's quite a lot of things to be thought about, to be done, to be managed. Out of the management team, not from the volunteering team, but from the management team, one person needs to take a lead on security. Either they have some background, or they have some training in risk management. and they're the ones who keep all the paperwork intact. And if they need, they can liaise with Majlis Ulama and get some guidance if they get stuck somewhere or if they need any help. But it's easier to deal with a security lead, and they can then disseminate the information within the rest of the teams. Um, Recruiting volunteers. Most of the time, we know the people and they are from the community, but sometimes there may be new people joining, the volunteering teams or people who want to come and share and offer their help. There needs to be a process to get new people joining the volunteering teams. Again, that could be a potential threat. Security threats are changing all the time too. The attackers are coming up with new and creative ways of causing damage. So there should be some sort of a biannual, at least, training program to keep up to date on the threats and how to deal with them, and also train the other people who are responsible for these for security management and in general. The communication goes out to the mosques congregation that these are the measures your management team has taken so that they feel more secure and safe to come to the programs. Um, the people who are responsible for the mosque and also for the security, I think it's important that they have some sort of visible presence. It is when there is lots of people in the mosque or around the mosque, it's easy for someone to say, "I am one of the management team," or "I'm responsible for this," and cause a problem. If people know that the managers and volunteers wear, let's say, a high-vis jacket or a card or a badge or something, then they know who to approach if there is a problem. And if this would be part of the drill and the preparation side for different kind of events, who do we need to contact? What will they do? And how do we who do we need to contact, what they will do. So there's clear expectations, and people are aware that in a problem, they will be contacted and this is what they're able to help. If there are certain roles that are limited to one person and it's a critical role, then we identify backups for those people, and for the brothers and sister sides, we need like separate resources. So there is a clear segregation of different activities done to the different sites. Good. I'm just going to take a short break. Is everything understandable so far as expected? Do you think like you need any more information about anything? And then I move on. If someone can just give me some response, then I can move on. Is the content understandable so far? Right. Okay, so moving on quickly, I think I'm going to be like maybe 10, 15 more minutes. And if there's any questions afterwards, some of these I appreciate are just reminders, but just for a comprehensive review of things, it's important to have a good understanding and a discussion on all areas of the topics. We have websites and social medias for our community centers. There's data protection, um, like physical protection, like personal protection. You these days you need data protection as well because that can cause issues if it's leaked or hacked. in any way. If you are using emails, then phishing is a great way to cause attacks to organizations, or domain spoofing, and emails can be sent out from your domain, causing problems. If you are using Wi-Fi, which could be connected to your internal systems, then someone from outside the mosque can access internal data, which could be serious. And also, if you do find list of event attendees, or list of members, or list of trustees' personal data leaked onto the internet, what would we do about that? The National Security Cyber Security Center, NCSC, has got some good guidance on that. Okay, so coming to Morton's law, this is something that will come into effect next year. I think it's April time. So if you are responsible for a premise, then you have to, by law, you have to do something to prepare for it. And this is not just for places of worship. This is for public areas, but places of worship also come into the boundary of Morton's law. Um, there are different tiers in there. The standard tier, which the places of worship fall into, requires evacuation. So asking people to go outside the building, evacuation to let people remain inside the building, and if there's a lockdown sort of required because of something happening outside, and also communication procedures. So it's only that, but they are themselves quite big sort of areas. The important thing to know is any place of worship with a capacity of 200 or more people fall under this standard tier premises, and this is not about the attendance; it's about the space. So if it can hold 200 people, then it will be required, or margins will apply. Only even if you have 50 people in attendance all the time. So April 2027 is when it comes into effect. And just this, like a month, 2 months ago, the guidance was published, and I'll show you some of the. Uh, in fact, I can probably show it to you now. So if I share my screen, then I share the whole screen. Yeah. And my window over here. So I wanted to show a few sort of things. If you go onto the government website, you'll be able to see the current threat level. And in here, it says the threat to the UK from terrorism is severe right now, and then it explains what the different threat levels are. And the Protect UK is an important website providing advice and guidance for learning, advice and guidance and learning relating to different aspects. And in here we have Morton's law, which explains, what is the law, what is coming up, what do you need to know, all sorts of like different bits. And it's called the Protection of Premises Law from terrorism. So protect uk.police.uk is the website we need to think about. So, what is required in preparing for Morton's law is evacuation procedures, and as I mentioned, the clear routes, assembly points, regular drills, good signage for people on how to exit the building. For evacuation, what are the safe internal areas? You would divide elderly, children, women, vulnerable people, and have different availabilities for these safe areas. And if you want to initiate a lockdown, then how do you secure your entry-exit points, and how do you communicate inside, outside for that? And people who are coming to the mosque, or people who are linked to the mosque, or who have people inside the mosque, and emergency services, how do you communicate with them? So something to look into and see, start preparing now. It is available, but it will become low next year. Um, For large gatherings, I think I have touched on it, so I won't go into too much detail. We Ashura was mentioned, and a procession was mentioned in there. So pre-event planning, crowd control, first aid readiness, and communication with the crowd is something that's required. Most of the people who are organizing processions would have a event management plan relating to that. But my suggestion would be to have that event management plan for all sort of big events, or have a certain threshold that every time the threshold of people are more than the standard threshold, then it is regarded as a large gathering, and a large gathering would need an event plan. Once you've created this once, then you can reuse it every year, especially for women and children, for weekend schools as well, and daytime events. So if the access for female is on one side of the building, for example, and there are two entrances, then that should be the only entry point open at that point. Ideally, with some female stewards, they can be inside as well. And all the rest of the areas in the mosque should be access controlled, as we spoke about earlier. From a safeguarding perspective, in schools with children, having the right checks for the teachers and volunteers, and making sure that only the designated people or authorized people, like parents and nominated people, are allowed inside the building, and children are not left out of sight anytime, which would mean sort of unsupervised as well. If anything happens, God forbid, in that time, then they are aware of how to evacuate from that area, and how to communicate what has happened. Some activate some of the continuity plans or incident response plans. And if it is not possible to leave the building, then is there a safe place within that area where they can gather, so that they are able to convene and decide what best actions to take. In these areas where we have the entry and exit points, if it is all possible to have recordings enabled, and some designated volunteers, because any physical presence or physical impact would be from these entry exit areas, and in event of an incident, it would be possible to go back to the recording, or the recording itself could become a deterrent for people who are possibly thinking of any potential threats. And all the perimeter security that I mentioned for mosques, if it's in a separate area, the women children events, or if you hire certain places, all that applies. If you are using a third-party building, then within the contract there would be liabilities of what the how much the risk would be managed by the supplier of the place, the venue provider, and how much risk is your responsibility, how much insurance will they cover, how much insurance will be covered by yourself. So all that needs to be reviewed um uh, before we carry out our activities, because thinking about it after the event would be sort of too late. If there are women organizing events on their own, then they should have some link into the center security lead rather than independently making decisions. In terms of planning and also responding, they are working together, and not reinventing something, or creating a plan without being aware of the bigger picture. And most of this, especially for schools, the madrasas, the safeguarding and child protection policies will cover this aspect as well. There was a discussion or a question about processions, and I won't go into too much detail over here right now. But event management is the key, and that is done well before the event. As I said, at least 8 to 12 weeks before, if you cannot do it even before that, because it's an annual thing. Working with the police and the council. These days, you have to work with traffic management people, and if there are a TFL, or TFL is for London, but any other places where buses are involved, and diversion of those buses. If parking spaces need to be suspended for the particular times, then the parking or highways people to be involved in that, but all well in advance. I've also mentioned weather in here. As we know, like, weather can be unpredictable. So if there is bad weather, then during that time where people are saving themselves from winds or rain or snow or anything, if the security incidents happen at that time, what would be the difference in the plan when the weather is okay? Um, okay, so there is some funding available for protecting the mosque, and I'll just share the screen to show you this. Right. So this is the website for it. If you just search for protective security for mosques scheme, you'll be able to come to this website, and it has guidance on who can apply, what the scheme covers, and all sorts of things. So a mosque, Muslim center, they can apply. You can get funding for physical security, securing personnel services as well, like guards, and other bits. And there's a process of how to apply. Um, so what we need to consider when applying for any of these grants, that in most of the cases the work is done by government contractors. So there would be a contract from the government with the contractor to provide the services, but the actual implementation of any security services, there would be a contract between yourself as a charity or a mosque with the security contractor, and that's where you can define anything that you'd like to include in there, and they have to agree with that part before any work begins. And this is where you're able to have your needs specified in there as well, rather than just adhering to what is the standard contract. So it can help with all the perimeter physical security, And also, if for high risk events, you can get some security guards from these grants as well. This is for charities only, by the way. So, any other entities are not cannot apply. I've also included in here there is a place of worship, protective security for non-Muslims and non-Jewish faiths. Just so that if you are able to communicate with your neighbors and other faiths, and you can make them aware who if they need help. So there's something specifically for mosques because of all the things that have happened, and then some things for non-Muslims. Lots of training available, and I think these are online training. So I recommend as much as possible if you can attend them. Let me show you some options. Okay, so the first one is from Faith Associates, Security of Faith Institutions. They have a training program, and you'll be able to see security tips, incident guide, and just give them some institution and some information, and they're able to get back to you of how many people, and they can run a specific training session for you. Then there's faith security training available from the government as well. This is for free, and it includes recognizing threats, proactive security measures, reactive steps. And if you follow some of these trainings, then when you're liaising with the police or the authorities, you are able to say that you follow guidance from the training that is available from government. Um, and just finally, as I mentioned, know your neighbors, talk to them, seek their advice, and because at time of need, you will require that if there are other faith bodies in your area, work with them, share best practices. You can get some help from them; they can help from you. Majlis-e-Ulama is a network of Islamic centers. So if you want to get connected with another Islamic center and get what they're doing, then you can contact them directly or via Majlis-e-Ulama, and have at least an awareness of what security specialist organizations are there. Sorry, this has come right at the end. There was a question about insurances, and as a standard, a Islamic center as a charity requires public liability insurance, which covers injury and damage to visitors, general visitors, congregation, contractors, and on a daily sort of basis. So that's a must. If they are employed staff, whether part-time or full-time, then an employer's liability insurance is required to have any claims relating to employees. Another thing really recommended is trustee indemnity insurance. Um, Being a trustee holds quite a lot of responsibilities, and it requires you to understand and take those responsibilities seriously. If, God forbid, like something happens and it turns out to be personal liability, uh, and a serious sort of unknown mistake, then this indemnity insurance will cover you for that. It's not a big price of it, but I highly recommend it. Buildings and contents insurance would help you with any damage. Again, need to make sure if all your building areas are and contents are covered to the right level. And there's a specific terrorism insurance which is not included in standard policies. It's called pool re. Most standard policies, as I said, exclude them. That is something you have to ask your insurer and ask them, like, what terrorism incidents are covered in there, and what is actually designated as a terrorist act too. So hopefully most of the situations in your risk register would be covered either in terrorism or public liability or buildings and content, and if there's employees, then employee liability as well. Something to remind you is, rather than waiting for the incident to happen and then contacting the insurance people, it's good to have a desktop exercise of what could happen, and then check with insurance it would be covered or not. This slide explains what is covered in terrorism reinsurance, and what is not covered in there. Um, Again, I know slides will be shared so you can see, what kind of acts are covered. But for example, a cyber attack is not covered in that. If someone gets into your Wi-Fi system and steals some data, then for that you need to get cyber security insurance, which is a separate add-on to your existing insurances. Okay, how do you implement this? So I suggest that we, in the first 30 days, just do a risk assessment, have some people identified, do some training, and see where you are standing at the moment. So the gap analysis side of things. And this is the point where you can seek all sorts of help from different, neighbor faith institutions, Majlis-e-Ulama, other centers. And once you have a good idea of where things are, then start to apply the security controls and create all the documentation. And depending on the resources you have, that will take up to 6 months. And then after that, it becomes a regular process. Obviously, some of the controls will require maintenance, so keep in mind of the installation costs and the ongoing maintenance costs of that as well. And just lastly, this is the last slide. From a risk assessment perspective, this is to summarize what we have discussed so far. There is a physical risk assessment. There is the emergency, if it happens, how much prepared you are. There's the insurance and legal side of things to review, the cybersecurity bit to review. From a personnel perspective, the safeguarding and DBS element, and all the governance responsibilities of as a charity trustee. These are the areas that are covered in risk assessment. Yeah, recommended to report as many incidents as possible. Keep your local neighborhood police representative involved in this, and I think the messages that goes out to the community need to be very controlled. There's highly likely that people will start to circulate their own messaging, but the correct, standard, focused message coming out from official platforms would be the ones that people should take really seriously. And this is a list of contacts to be kept in your risk registers. Majlis Ulama's website also have a Shia phobia events reporting system where we look at what has happened and incorporate that data within our training as well.